Hi, it's Janet here from Green Urban Living. Today I'd like to discuss comfrey with you. Now, comfrey is a perennial, so it's a plant that is long-lived. It dies down in winter and then comes back up in spring. And it's a great plant to have in your garden because what it does is it has a really long taproot that mines down into the soil, and then it brings up all the essential chemicals and elements that you need on your garden. So it mines up things like potassium and magnesium and phosphorus, which are really important for plant growth. So it's basically like having a green compost material in your garden. So what I do is I plant it around my fruit trees, and it's really good because it will mine up lots of minerals and soluble food for them, so that I can feed them really easily. So what I often will do is, just as I'm walking along, I will just pick some leaves like this, scrunch them up a bit, and then drop them around the fruit trees, and the fruit trees' roots will bring all that, the minerals and the nutrients into the tree. The one thing about comfrey is that once you've got it for life. It's very hard to get rid of. So if you're thinking about growing it in your garden, think really carefully about where you want to plant it. It populates itself by root division. So, you know, if you try and dig it out, what you really do is dig up little bits of root which will start growing for themselves, so you get more and more plants. So it's really good along a boundary, because what it does, it will keep out lots of weeds and things like kikuyu grass and cooch, you know, all those weeds that are really hard to get rid of. It's great as a chicken tonic. The chickens really love it, and so I will feed it to the chickens, and they will peck away at it. It's also really good in your veggie garden. So when I'm planting my potatoes, I will put a potato seed in here, roll it up, and then plant it into the trench. It's really good as a compost activator because it rots down really quickly. It gets your compost cooking nice and hot. So I will always put a big armful of comfrey leaves into the compost, and it's really, really good for making compost tea. So pick up lots of these leaves, throw them into a drum, fill it up with water, and in 3 weeks' time you'll have a very, very smelly but very, very good soluble fertiliser for your garden. It's great around any sort of trees, but particularly the fruit trees, and it's really good for just breaking off. What I do is I break it off and I throw it onto the drive, and I make sure it's really, really wilted. So I leave it in the sun for about 2 or 3 hours. And the reason for that is then you know it's quite wilted and it's going to be dead by the time you put it into your vegetable garden, because you don't want any of those little stems taking root and getting through your garden. If you've just got a really small garden, why not think about growing it in a pot? That's a really good idea too. So yeah, really, really great plant to have. It will just naturally feed all your vegetables and all your fruit trees. If you've got chickens, they will love it. If you do composting, you need it for your compost, and it's great as a compost tea.